Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Dhamma of Peace series, number 36, Highest Blessings. Today, we will discuss blessings prescribed by Buddha in the last 4 verses of Mangala Sutta. Altogether 38 blessings in there in that sutta, but we are discussing about the last 4 verses. Patience. What is patience? It is having the right attitude towards things and beings. Patience is having the right attitude towards things and beings. If one is impatient, people will dislike or even hate you. Being dissatisfied will make one irritated and tired. If one dies with a confused and angry mind, one will end up in the hell realm. The practice of forgiveness and loving kindness develops a person's patience. Overwhelming anger gives one of the best kind of peace. Anyone who responds to another person's anger outburst is inferior to the first person. In other words, one insulted you and you responded in kind. You are worse than the first person. Because his fault becomes yours. So please don't take his anger. Don't accept his anger. With patience, return his rage. He might be screaming and yelling and cursing at you. Just be patient and just simply listen. That's what patience is. One should devote to a teacher with compassion and loving kindness to correct one's fault on the spot. This is how the monks do. When they have a student, anyone in front of them make a mistake, on the spot, with no delay, correct their error or fault. Also, a good teacher will teach you how to behave so you will not fall into the traps of mental defilements. Not only the teacher corrects your fault, also he teaches you many things not to fall into the trap of greed, anger, and delusion. In other words, it's a preventative method. He's teaching you how to prevent lobha, dosa, and moha. In other words, all the wrong things one could do or speak or think even. A wise student loves such teacher, and the foolish one doesn't. A wise student love if a teacher corrects you on the spot and then teach you how to prevent things from doing wrong. But the foolish students, they hate the teacher who correct them, especially if they are told you are doing wrong this way, wrong that way. They hate them. They become angry, dissatisfied, don't even want to talk and associate with them. That is the foolish students or the fools. And that patience is one of the highest blessings, the Buddha says. Have patience, be patient. What does it mean? Having the right attitude towards things and beings. Wise attention towards things and beings. That is patience, and that is the highest blessing. Now, many of you might have the word samana. So what does it mean? What does samana means? Samana is a person who is straightforward, without self-interest or agenda, and does not pretend to be someone other than himself or herself, free of pretensions. A person who has these qualities is called samana. I'll repeat again. Samana is someone who is straightforward and have no self-interest or agenda in anything he does or speaks, and does not pretend to be someone other than himself or herself. Totally free of pretentiousness. If one carries these qualities, it's called samana. Nowadays, this definition belongs to monks who earnestly practice as Buddha preached for liberation. Not just any monks or every monks. Monks who earnestly practice as Buddha preached for liberation. So in the present day, those are the only ones who carry that title of samana, of designation. At the time of Buddha, not only bhikkhus or monks who follow Buddhas were samana. In the olden days, it's not only the monks, but also recluse and hermits who try their best to get liberated from all form of suffering. There are people, they become recluse or hermits, staying alone and living in such a way that they believe it will eliminate all form of suffering. Those are also called samana at the time of Buddha. Buddha pointed us to approach and see such persons as often as possible. Now, Buddha is talking to the lay people. Okay? If you see such kind of person, approach him and go and see him, associate with him as much as possible, as often as possible. Such encounters will condition your attitude, our attitude. Help us embark on the right path and help us go forward. In other words, if you associate with a good friend, you behave good. So if you see a person of samana quality, see as much as you can, because their attitudes and qualities will rub on you, and then you will embark on the right path, and then you will go forward towards liberation. And that is also one of the highest blessings. The first one is patient. Second one is to see and associate as often as possible with people who has the quality of a samana. Buddha encouraged us to discuss Dhamma. He said, go ahead and discuss, have a discussion on Dhamma, and not hold a point of view as correct. When you are discussing with others, don't hold on the view that you perceive or accept is as correct. In other words, keep an open mind. Don't build borders. When people are in discussion, they are always cordial and polite. If another person or another group has the same point of view as you do, if that's the case, you are gentle and polite and laughing and joking and cordial. Even though you have a same point of view, there's always something could come up that you don't know. So you could benefit from many pointers for progress, because there's something always you could have missed and somebody might point it out, and or vice versa. You can point out others. That's a benefit of discussion. However, when facing people with opposing views, discussion can become heated and aggressive with attacks and defense. That is a natural setting of the people. As soon as you have an opposition, defense and attacks and accusations and discrimination. But what Buddha said was, if you fall into that kind of a situation with opposing people, still you should respect other views and then sit down and discuss pros and cons with courtesy and politeness, not screaming, yelling, and then building walls. Okay, fine, this is your view, this is my view. Let's see, we can agree on what are the pros and cons on both sides and discuss politely, gently, with courtesy. And also, these kind of discussions should be held at an appropriate time set aside, not on the spot there. Okay, let's meet at this place at that time. Is that okay? Fine. Go there together. You make a point. Okay, you make this is an important matter. So appropriate time and place. And you keep aside and you go and discuss them. And these times should be convenient for all sides. And at the same time, as we are talking for yogis, without disturbing or taking out of your time for practice. Practice is more important. But this is discussion of what you are practicing and what you are experiencing. So the Buddha said, Discussing Dhamma is one of the highest blessings. We have three now. First is patience. Second is associating with people of samana characteristics. And the third is discussion of Dhamma. One observes restraint of the six senses: form, sound, smell, taste, touch, and wanting thoughts. I call it a wanting thought, so keep that in mind. Because we are all practicing yogis, what do? We restrain ourselves from six senses. To restrain, you have to observe. What do you observe? The form you see, the sound you hear, the smell you have, and the taste on your tongue, and the touch of the body, and all the thoughts. But particularly, this is the wanting thought. A thought with wants, a thought with desire, and also the six sense doors. You watch and you observe your eye doors, ear doors, nose door, tongue doors, body doors, and mind doors. If you watch these six senses and six sense door, why do we watch these things, observe these things? To eliminate the mental defilements. We want to eliminate mental defilements because these mental defilements burns or destroy mindfulness, effort, concentration, and wisdom. They are the opposing force of what we are doing, mental defilements. Or what we are practicing can eliminate mental defilements. You can take either way. Observing the impermanence, suffering, and non-self nature in these with great effort will give rise to concentration and wisdom. In other words, all these five sense doors and five senses, you observe them. What? To see in them anicca, impermanence, dukkha, suffering, and anatta, non-self. How do? You have to do not mediocrely, but with great effort. If you do that, concentration develops and then wisdom arises. Grounded in morality and closing the five sense door is called Tapa. T-A-P-A, Tapa. First of all, the basic foundation is you must have morality precepts, 5 or 8 or 9 or 10 for yogis. You must have, no if or but. And then observing these five sense door is, in other words, you close the five sense door. And if you do that, that process is called Tapa. This Tapa develops the 5 controlling mental faculties. If you do that, automatically 5 controlling mental faculties. What are they? Saddha, faith and confidence, Viriya, effort, energy, Sati, mindfulness, Samadhi, concentration, and Panya, wisdom. Those 5 will develop. You close the 5 sense door and observe them, your 5 controlling mental faculties develop. But to do that, to be able to achieve that, one must practice continuously, not whenever you feel like it. Practice continuously, uninterruptedly. keeping the Four Noble Truths: suffering, craving, cessation of suffering, and the Eightfold Noble Path, until one penetrates these directly. What does it mean is, in other words, practice the Eightfold Noble Path so that you directly and experientially understand what the Noble Truth of suffering is, what is the cause of suffering is, and what is the cessation of all suffering is. You practice continuously, uninterruptedly, till you find it, till you experience it. In other words, no surrender. If you want to be liberated, that is the only way. You practice without yielding to anything except direct experience of the Four Noble Truth. And then you will eliminate all form of suffering and experience path, mega, fruition, phala, and nibbana, the cessation of all suffering. And that is one of the highest blessings. What is that highest blessing? Observe the 5 sense door and 5 sense objects continuously and uninterruptedly, so that you understand stage by stage up to the point of directly experiencing the Four Noble Truth without yielding with urgent effort. To experience mega, phala, and nibbana, path, fruition, and of suffering. That process, that tapa, is one of the highest blessing. Confronted with 8 loka Dhamma, the Dhamma of the ordinary people's world. What is it? Gain and loss. Having followers or lacking them. Blame or praise. Happiness or suffering. Those are the 8. The mind of these people who have reached the path and fruition, when they face these 8 loka Dhamma, their mind is unshaken and they have the pure mind. In other words, their mind is free of 10 kinds of mental defilements. And their mind is equanimous and peaceful. And we call such person as arahant. So, having an unshaken mind, free of 10 mental defilements, equanimous and peaceful, which cannot be shaken by 8 loka Dhamma, and arahant is the highest blessing. Arahant is invincible everywhere, conquers inner and external enemies, and gain happiness and supreme peace. And that is also a highest blessing. So I will enumerate all the highest blessing we just discussed. Patience is the highest blessing. Associating as often as you could with a samana, is the highest blessing. Dhamma discussion with courtesy and with open mind is the highest blessing. Closing the sixth sense door and observing the sixth sense objects and developing the 5 controlling mental faculties. How? Continuously, uninterruptedly till one directly experience or understand the Four Noble Truths is the highest blessing. And one who is unshaken by the 8 ordinary people world's Dhamma, gain and loss, having followers and lack of it, blame and praise, happiness and suffering, an unshaken mind by these Dhamma is an Arahant. If you have these qualities, it's called Arahant. And this unshaken mind by the 8 Loka Dhamma is the highest blessing. And Arahant are the one who has it. So Arahants are invisible everywhere, conquer both internal enemies and external enemies, always happy and have supreme peace. That is the highest blessing. These are the highest blessing in the 4 verses of the Mangala Sutta. May all of you embrace these blessings. Practice Satipatthana, Vipassana, mindfulness, insight meditation, and attain these blessings as soon as possible. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you very much.